Inhabitants of the city of Bikini Bottom in real life. A creepy fish with very strong armor and an unusual way of moving, and a jellyfish that causes a hypnotizing effect. In this episode, I'll show you these and other interesting and unknown creatures caught on camera by divers in the depths of the sea. Let's go! Firework jellyfish. If you thought that there's nothing fun and interesting at the bottom of the world ocean, that there's nothing but gloom, boredom, and darkness, then you're deeply mistaken. At a depth of 4,000 feet, a few years ago, scientists found a real fireworks of the deep sea world. The discovery was made near Mexico using a device that was remotely controlled. Here, look at this jellyfish. It does look like it's setting off fireworks, doesn't it? It's got 70 of these brightly colored tentacles. The mystery of the jellyfish's glow wasn't so difficult. The bell and channels of the tentacles are covered with a substance that reflects directed light in such an unusual way. And if you do not shine the light on the jellyfish, it looks completely unremarkable, jelly and transparent. At the same time, the width of its bell doesn't stand out much. It's about 22 inches. But these thin tentacles of the jellyfish are not only a decorative object, but also a rather effective tool that helps it move and catch prey. Mrs. Puff. While some photographers shoot weddings and anniversaries, the girl from the next story prefers to explore the sea and the underwater world and take pictures of creatures she likes. One of them was this fish from the pufferfish family. These, in case you forgot, are the ones that swell up to unimaginable size in case of emergency, just like Mrs. Puff from the SpongeBob SquarePants animated TV series. Hit the like button if you remember that Bikini Bottom inhabitant. By the way, do you know how these fish manage to change their body shape so quickly? It turns out they inflate by rapidly pumping water into their stomach. In the process of evolution, this organ has become incredibly elastic while losing its digestive function. In case of a threat, it expands rapidly, taking up all the free space. Along with the fish, its protective spines, bulging in different directions, also swell. Of course, if pufferfish had bones in these places, they'd break with such a transformation. Therefore, Mother Nature made sure they were missing some ribs and a pelvic bone. And here's one more curious fact. Although these fish almost always fill the space with water, if you pull them onto land, they can replace water with ordinary air, but they do it out of desperation. SpongeBob and Patrick. And since I'm talking about characters from the well-known animated TV series, let's also take a look at the two main characters which were discovered at the bottom along with Mrs. Puff. A deep-sea drone filmed a real sponge lying together with a starfish.
And that this is apparently a real-life Patrick from SpongeBob.
According to the divers, no one placed them in that position on purpose. Everything was in its place before the humans arrived. If that's true, then it's some kind of crazy coincidence. What can I tell you? Let's wait for Ariel to get caught on camera, and Nemo will be found after her. Death trap. Okay, that's a fly trap, a common one that we've all known for a long time. Well, or at least the one we've seen somewhere in the past. And this is a sea anemone, a deep-sea coral polyp that noticed the fly trap's hunting style on the underwater television and decided to copy it as brazenly as possible. Either hiding from shame or just wanting to remain unnoticed, the sea anemone dived to a depth of several thousand feet and settled there successfully. It's standing there, not twitching, waiting for some crustaceans or mollusks to swim by. As soon as they're within its reach, it eats them and neutralizes the prey with thread cells, later digesting all the little things in the intestine. By the way, the sea anemone does not have other organs, so thanks to that very intestine, it clings to the seabed. However, the sea anemone does not stand still all its life. It became known that from birth, these creatures lead a more active lifestyle and travel often. Yes, they don't walk very fast, but the main thing is that they walk. And when they reach an advanced age, they sit down in a more comfortable place with a clear conscience and stay there forever. But the armored sea robin, on the other hand, is not going to stop even as the years go by. I agree its name is not the most intimidating, but its appearance and the way it walks along the bottom like a spider moving its outgrowths cannot but inspire fear. The creature lives at depths of up to 2,600 feet, and it can be distinguished from the rest by the following signs: a large head covered with outgrowths and thorns, a long snake body protected by a heavy shell, and a love of singing. In the impenetrable darkness where they usually live, the little Cthulhu is always muttering, howling, or whistling. I also told you about his armor. Well, it's not the simplest of armor. It's made up of bone armor that protects the body of the beast from predators. And there's a lot to protect, believe me. As it turned out, these terrible monsters are hunted not only by witches and exorcists, but also by ordinary people who want to eat their delicious meat. And if no danger awaits the sea-armored sea robin, it may think about its own lunch. In its search, by the way, the creature is helped by these antennae, dotted with sensitive receptors. With their help, it can easily find some delicious crayfish, shrimp, or small fish. Is it alive? The next story is connected with fishing in Alaska. People have often traveled there, but usually found nothing strange or supernatural. But not this time. Unexpectedly for all of them, they came across this monster which looked like a living coral with thin tentacles. For some reason, it reminded me of the monsters from Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, it's not that scary, the fishermen thought. But when they turned the creature over for the sake of interest, the fear reappeared and went through them. Under the monster, the people found strange veins, as in the larva of the alien, which in the movies tightly clung to the victim's face. What kind of miracle in nature is this? Will someone explain it to me? Because the authors of the video, just like the scientists who examined the data, could not comment on it. Glowing creature. And here is another underwater monster, the mere sight of which makes your blood run cold. The only good thing is that this time this horror of the depths is known to science. I mean, it's clear to everyone that we're looking at a fish, though an unusual one. The creature is capable of bioluminescence, that is, of glowing to attract prey. Smaller creatures see the light in the impenetrable deep-sea darkness and swim to it, expecting to find relief from hunger there. In fact, they do find it, just not in the way they probably want. It's unlikely that these gigantic and razor-sharp teeth let anyone go free at all. You wanted an alien encounter, right? Well, here it is. I mean, what are aliens to us? They're beings unlike anything we've ever known before. Organisms from another planet. It seems to me that organisms from the seafloor would fit that definition better than any other. In 2009, a group of scientists went on a long journey, during which they had to study a lot of new islands as well as points on the ocean floor. They had to take samples, launch the appropriate mechanisms, in general, fill their arsenal with a variety of creatures. They managed to do it so well that the subsequent genetic study of the materials took another dozen years. However, this work was particularly valuable because it helped them make several critical statements at once. First, at the very bottom of the world ocean, where darkness, low temperatures, and hellish pressure that crushes even bath escapes, life is 3 times more diverse than at higher levels. Second, 2/3 of that diversity is made up of species unknown to science. Until now, biology has known 11,000 species of plankton, and now it turns out that there are at least 10 times as many. And thirdly, modern scientists not only have not seen these species, but do not even know what genus or family they could be attributed. So incomprehensible and unstudied are they to them. Aren't these aliens? To encounter them, you don't even have to fly anywhere, just dive to the bottom of the ocean. Monster of the depths. Lollipop cat shark. Some might think that this is a very dangerous animal, as if it were some huge and at the same time insanely dangerous predator ready to devour anyone who gets in its way. And then you look at real pictures of this monster and realize there's nothing to be afraid of. Yes, it's a full-fledged adult, not some kind of newly born shark. It's only about 8 inches long and lives at the depths of the Gulf of California, where there's little oxygen. There are hydrothermal vents at the bottom, and they spew iron, zinc, nickel, fill the water with hydrogen sulfide. In short, ordinary fish would die within seconds of being in this place. But the lollipop cat shark manages not only to survive, but also to reproduce successfully in such difficult conditions. Sea devils, giant single-celled organisms, and devil worms. Keep watching, it'll be interesting as we dive even deeper. Sharks are the kind of fish that every sane person would want to avoid seeing. You can call me strange, but for some reason, I wouldn't mind seeing such a fish as the goblin shark one day. The fact is that it's one of the oldest species of all sharks, which is confirmed by their found fossils and teeth, which are tens of millions of years old. Moreover, the fish attracts attention by its absurd appearance. Almost 13-foot-long adults have translucent, pinkish skin, with translucent vessels. In addition, they have an unusual outgrowth on their nose, which is used to search for food in the deep sea. In general, the species' name alone speaks for itself – the goblin shark. When you hear it, I imagine some kind of ugly and light-intolerant fish, which in fact it is. You can encounter a shark, on average, at a depth of about 1,000 feet, but some especially shy creatures are free to live deeper than 3,000 feet. Now I'll show you another species of shark, which is not like them anymore. It's understandable because the frilled shark is a real treasure for explorers. The dangerous creature has not changed at all for thousands of years of its existence. For example, its spine is not divided into vertebrae. The word frilled in the name arose because of the gills which intersect at the throat and form something similar in appearance to a frill. The average length of these fish is about 5 feet, but the frilled shark can grow up to 6.5 feet. They don't have problems with prey because of the mouth located in front. Speaking of it, the mouth of the frilled shark has about 300 teeth. Located in an unusual position for other sharks, first come the small teeth and then the long ones. Externally, these creatures could rather be attributed to eels or snakes than to sharks. This prehistoric monster lives in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean at a depth of more than 980 feet. No one's been able to catch such a shark in recent times, so its existence is questionable. On the other hand, because of its physical abilities, the shark simply has no equals in the underwater world. So nothing should bode ill for their genera and species. By the way, do you know how such sharks attack? They shrink down and literally shoot toward their prey, swallowing it whole if possible. These creatures can swallow prey half their body length. Common fangtooth. I think it's obvious to all of us by the name of this creature what its main advantage is. It is, of course, its teeth. And they're so well developed that the common fangtooth can tear an enemy 1/3 larger than itself. Of course, you have to manage not to be able to defeat the enemy when you have special sheaths in your jaw for the tips of your teeth, because they don't fit in your mouth when your jaw's closed. Sounds super scary and incredible at the same time, don't you agree? Except now I have to let you in on a little secret. Common fangtooth is actually a shorty. Usually the length of these fish is about 7.8 inches. Nevertheless, this does not prevent them from diving to a depth of more than 3,000 feet, where they feel great and scare the fish so frightened by the circumstances. Not without reason that those fish have gone so deep, is it? As you can see, the depths of the underwater world are really amazing with its inhabitants. It's not for nothing that they say, the deeper into the sea, the uglier its inhabitants. But this doesn't apply to all creatures. Here, for example, is Grimpotoithus. Yeah, the name's difficult to pronounce. Fortunately, at least in its appearance, this little guy boosts your spirits. By the way, because of its funny ears, many people compare this creature to Dumbo the elephant. Well, the one from Disney's animated movie. As for the habitat of this beauty, it usually begins at about 1,300 feet underwater, but it can go up to 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, heck, even 20,000 feet. At the same time, the size of this baby is only 7 inches in length or so. Of course, there are overgrowths which are 6 feet long, but it's rather an exception. The body shape of underwater Dumbo resembles a bell. And because it's jelly-like, Grimpotoithus can easily cope with the enormous pressure inherent in such depths. Another attribute of this animal is its big eyes. Yeah, it would have no end of girls on land, but in this habitat its eyes are practically useless. In the sea abyss, there is an impenetrable darkness. The octopus uses its tentacles and special super-sensitive antennae to determine where to swim in order not to run into an obstacle. European angler. It sounds like the nickname of a European navigator or something like that. In fact, it's much more interesting than that. It's a fish that manages to literally jump on the bottom. It's called a sea devil in some languages, most likely because of its devilishly large belly. As soon as the creature sees prey, it easily sucks it in. The target can reach the size of the European angler itself. Another version of origin of the name is because of frightening appearance. Huge head, enormous fins, slippery and disgusting frog-like body, and as an addition, various skin outgrowths all over the body. But if you can't identify fish by these features, you can use the following tip. European anglers have a kind of glowing fishing rod on their head. The fish adjusts its glow by narrowing or expanding its arterial walls. With the help of this rod, the fish lures other underwater inhabitants, which swim to the light with hope and interest. As soon as they get close, the European angler eats them. Macropinna. This amazing creature is astonishing in its appearance. The fish is only 0.9 inches long, but just take the transparent head alone. Through it, by the way, you can see beautiful oval eyes. However, those are not eyes, they're nasal capsules. The eye organ of Macropinna has an oval shape and is located inside a transparent dome. The eyes of the fish have high aperture lens, which help better perceive light at those depths where the creature lives. It lives, by the way, at a depth of 1,640 feet. That's not the end of its eye's features. Just imagine. It can see the prey in front of its own mouth. But most of all, as you've already guessed, the transparent head of the fish surprises. In fact, this cover acts as sort of a shield mounted on large scales behind the head. The whole structure is indescribably beautiful and unfortunately fragile. It's because of this that when such fish were caught by nets, they all came up already without their shield. Pelican eel. This is one of the most unusual sea creatures, which at first glance seems like a common, ordinary eel. But it seems so until the creature opens its mouth. The pelican eel lives at a depth of up to 16,000 feet. It's mostly dark in color and is about 5 feet in length. But these guys don't care about other distinctive features because the highlight is always a huge lower jaw and elongated throat with a leathery sac, reminiscent of the pelican's gular sac, for which pelican eels got their name. Exactly like its brother by name, this fish uses adaptation to scoop large volumes of water into its mouth and hold its prey there. Scientists have an interesting assumption about their mouth, that it contains some glands that secrete substances and digest their prey before it's swallowed. Devil worm. And this creature is more than real. Although it's difficult to believe in its existence at a depth of several kilometers. Besides, I'm not talking about some fish, but an ordinary worm. However, I probably rushed with the word ordinary. More than 10 years ago, this species of worm was discovered by a team exploring the underground world around the Beatrix gold mine in South Africa. There, at a depth of more than 1.8 miles, a worm lived which had a frightening appearance. For a long time, scientists couldn't understand how it could do it. But they soon came to an interesting conclusion. It turned out that these little guys borrowed the key gene from fungi that live among the roots of plants. It was this property that allowed the devil worm to survive in high temperatures and pressures. Just imagine, the creature lives under constant heat of more than 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And with a complete lack of oxygen. To me, that's incredible. But don't rush to think that this giant spider is the most dangerous and nastiest creature that can live there. Unfortunately, it isn't. In the depths of the Congo Basin, hidden in remote parts of the forest, lives a creature that's been talked about for centuries. It's an elusive monster with a long neck, barrel-shaped body, and short legs. Even in pre-colonial times, people often mentioned it. This was the first time European explorers encountered it. Out of a group of 15 people, only 3 returned. I think you can understand the reason for this reduction in scientific personnel. No one was going to tell about such a horror because otherwise panic would have risen and people would have gone crazy. But there was nothing anyone could do about it, not immediately, but gradually did information leak through the word of mouth and eventually ceased to be a secret. Today, among the local tribes, the strange monster is known as Mokele Mbembe, and the residents of these areas do not doubt its existence, just as we do not doubt the existence of dogs and cats. Observation of this cryptid and the collection of information continue to this day, which makes the search for this creature one of the most exciting cryptozoological quests. Do you know how the name of this creature translates? It means the one who stops the flow of rivers. It sounds very scary and unusual, right? There's no evidence for the existence of this monster today. The only proof is the words of tribesmen who say that they've personally seen Mokele Mbembe. It's up to you to decide whether it's true or not, but the legend was born. According to it, the tribes built giant fences so that the local monster didn't interfere with their fishing. One day, the process bore fruit. Mokele Mbembe was caught. It was helpless and fell in front of a large crowd of people. The villagers who feasted on the occasion were overjoyed, so much so that they devoured the whole giant in less than an hour. But they didn't know that at that very moment they had signed their own death warrant. It turns out that the monster's meat was soaked with poison, and anyone who dared eat the giant that stopped the flow of rivers went after it to the other world. While we're on the subject of more real creatures, let me tell you about a snake that you can find in the Congo right now. Yes, it's not known for its enormous size, but that doesn't make it any less dangerous. I'm talking about the notorious black mamba, a snake that doesn't fire a warning shot. Its size is usually 10 feet and it's 3.5 pounds. As for the appearance, then everyone who encounters it for the first time can have a logical question: where is it black? Well, you will not have too much time to think. The waiting will last until the mamba opens its mouth and shows you a black as tar mouth. What's surprising, with such a relatively tiny face, this snake will gladly inject about 400 milligrams of dendrotoxins into the victim. The effect will quickly lead to paralysis of the respiratory system. For you to understand the seriousness of the intentions of the snake, 15 milligrams of the venom are enough for an adult person to become a victim of the reptile. It's not for nothing that the locals of the Congo call its bite the kiss of death, because no one can resist it, even giant elephants. And if there's an antidote next to the poor person, then even after an instant injection, the effects of the toxins will not disappear completely. A person will need months of rehabilitation, and the consequences can stay with them for life. Shoebill. When in the Congo, you have to worry not only about an attack from the bush, as in the case of snakes, you also have to keep an eye on the situation in the air, because at any moment a shoebill may fly by. This is a well-known lone bird among the locals, which for a long time was mistaken for a stork. Only a genetic study has cleared up the confusion. The average height of this bird is 4 feet, and its weight is 9 to 15 pounds. With such size, it's difficult for shoebills to fly at great heights, so they usually soar quite low. But it's only better for us, because this way we can enjoy their amazing wingspan to the fullest. It looks really impressive. In between flights, these overgrown birds love to walk along the marshes and look for food. They eat mostly fish, frogs, and lizards, but they don't disdain eating even snakes. Their main hunting takes place in the water, where they, like statues, can stand for hours on their thin legs and wait for an opportunity to grab someone. Abruptly and quickly, the shoebill grabs its prey with its large beak and often decapitates it with one such movement. Leatherback sea turtle. Another name for this animal is the lute turtle. It's unique and interesting because it's the largest turtle in the world, which mouth is called the portal to hell by the locals. The average length of this turtle exceeds 6.5 feet, and its weight can be 1,100 pounds. It would seem that having such size, the giant should be slow and we can relax. But it's not the case. Even despite its enormous size, the leatherback sea turtle can reach speeds of up to 22 miles per hour. Yeah, it's not some race level, but it's quite enough to successfully pursue the prey. However, its speed and large size are nothing compared with what's to come. Take a look at its mouth. Creepy, isn't it? These outgrowths serve as the animal's teeth. Not only the throat, but also the entire esophagus is equipped with them. In addition, all these things are directed inward, which means that the prey cannot get out under any circumstances. That's all, guys. Which creature did you find most frightening? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.